Welcome to Lesson 2.3, all about congressional elections. In today's lesson, you'll need to learn about some specific terms related to elections like apportionment, districting, gerrymandering, and some of the reasons why incumbents tend to be reelected. Here's your overview. Remember to take good notes. Now, in our first topic, we'll talk about how frequent and how people are elected to the United States Congress. As you know, senators are elected on 6-year terms, but they're cycled so that a third of them are up for re-election every 2 years. House members are re-elected every 2 years. So there are federal elections every 2 years in the United States. Each state directly elects all of its senators and its representatives. So each state has elections where you choose who your people are in the United States Congress. Before 1914, nearly all senators were actually chosen by their state legislatures, which was a significant difference from how we do it today. It was changed by the 17th Amendment because people feared that state legislatures were being corrupted and senators were being corrupted, and there wasn't enough of a direct voice from the people in how their Senate was chosen. So for about 100 years now, all of your legislature has been directly chosen by the people. That graphic there shows the 2016 senators who are up for election. And you can see that Missouri has a likely Republican seat in the Senate that's up for election in 2016. Now, our second topic deals with the concept known as apportionment. Because we know the House is based on population and it's limited itself in size to 435 members, that means that as population changes in the United States and different states grow a little faster or a little slower than other states, then the proportion of seats in the House has to change. So we shift around the seats from one state to another. You can see that graphic helps kind of make sense of this. Certain states might lose a seat and other states might gain it. If they grow, say, faster than average, they'll gain seats. When the U.S. Constitution was actually being written, little fun fact for you, Washington said that we should have one representative for every 30,000 people. And they actually settled at the Constitutional Convention on a nice number of about 40,000. Today, the average U.S. House representative represents more than 700,000 people. So that's a byproduct of population growth, but also of them limiting the House in size. So this idea of apportionment is pretty significant as well, and we'll talk about it later when we talk about presidential elections, because the number of representatives that a state has is very important for presidential elections. And it's important, obviously, to the state themselves, too. In 2010, when the U.S. Census came out, the results came out, they found that Missouri had grown a little bit slower than the average states, and so we actually lost a seat in the United States House of Representatives. Now, because every House district is required to be equal in population, that also means that the boundaries of the House districts have to be redrawn. Even if the state's apportionment, the number of representatives they have, doesn't change, people might move within a state, to a different part of the state. So every 10 years, the state districts, the districts have to be redrawn. The Supreme Court in Reynolds v. Sims in 1964 extended this same principle to state legislative districts. So like the Missouri legislature also has to have equal population in their districts. So it's a little bit of a technical issue, but I want you to imagine before 1964, lots of states actually had really unequal House districts in their state legislatures. And often what it did was it biased against urban areas. So for example, Los Angeles, a county of 6 million people, had one legislator in 1963, and another California county of 14,000 people also had one legislator. So this principle of one man, one vote is pretty significant in American politics today, and it was a major shift in how we did things starting in the 1960s. It really moved a lot of political power to cities. Now, the idea of drawing districts also has a really important part to it, a little warning that you should know about. A lot of times the boundaries of districts are drawn to favor certain political parties and certain individuals. And so many times these district boundaries are drawn to weaken people to basically get them voted out of office. This idea of using the districting process of changing the boundaries for political gain is known as gerrymandering. It's a very important concept that we'll talk a little bit more about in class. Now, obviously, gerrymandering would also help an incumbent, which is someone who is already in office. And there's significant advantages to being an incumbent. You have major advantages in terms of your tendency to win re-elections. That chart there shows you the re-election rates for people in the United States House in the last 50 years have never fallen below 80% among people who want to be re-elected. So it's a huge advantage. So obviously, gerrymandering and drawing the boundaries helps. But there are some other things too. Name recognition. People recognize your name, they're going to pick you on the ballot. You can claim credit for good stuff. Maybe you didn't even do it, but you can at least claim credit. Sometimes you did. You can also do what's called casework, which is work for your constituents. You might help them with the federal agencies and all kinds of other stuff. It's much easier to raise money for your campaigns if you can say, hey, I'm already in office, I can help you out. And then finally, if you've already won office, you have some experience in campaigning, and that is clearly an advantage over someone who hasn't. So I hope that this lesson has helped you understand congressional elections a little bit better. Remember, you've taken good notes, and we'll see you next time.